Hello, I am Joe Gellatly, and this is Medcurity Live. And we're excited today. We've got a special guest. We've got the beautiful and talented Daniel Schwartz.
Beautiful.
who is the president of Design IT Solutions, and he's a member of the Forbes Technology Council and has a lot of great experience in the couple topics we're talking about today, cybersecurity and protecting your organization. A lot of frontline experience recent that we'll get into as far as how to recover and protect a clinic and a hospital. So thanks for joining us. Daniel, let's just jump into the juicy stuff, and then we want to talk about Design IT and what you focus on in a minute.
Sure.
So tell us about the dark web. That's kind of the word we've been throwing out for this. Is it just used in movies? Is it a Hollywood thing?
Oh yeah.
Or is it legitimately a marketplace for illicit goods?
So the dark web is an interesting place. So we've got, typically a lot of people call it an onion site, and the reason why they call that is they end in a .onion suffix. So you're used to going to a .com, a .gov, a .edu. Well, these dark web sites typically end in .onion, and they don't show up in search engines like Google or DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, whatever. So they're actually sites that are designed to be used with a special application that allows you to search for nefarious goods. No. So you can find anything you want on the dark web, not just breached data that we're going to talk about, but all kinds of illicit products are sold on the dark web. So one of the things, though, that's very concerning for security is credentials, access to customers' health information, personal identification. All that is being sold and traded on the dark web through these sites. So what will happen is a group of hackers will get into XYZ company. They will get monetary data that they can sell, and that would be users' social security numbers, demographics, that kind of thing. They'll package it up. They'll give you a little snippet of what they have, and then they'll sell it. So that's one piece. The second piece is they will actually do some kind of breach where they're able to access your usernames and passwords, and they will sell that, linking it to a company. So Joe at MetaBeat, all of a sudden his information shows up with a password, and they have validated it, and they show it at the auction, and then they'll sell it. So the hackers now have access. They can buy. Some of it's free, and they'll just take it. And they'll show you part of the password even, so you know that it's legitimate. And if you buy it and or it's posted, it's there.
Wow.
So what we do is we scan for that, and it gives us a list, and it shows us every, based on a domain, every user that's compromised, and if it has a password, if it's there, it shows it to us.
So it scans the marketplaces, or it scans the public. Are they like bulletin boards that have these posted?
Yeah, it scans the whole onion sites and other chat rooms, IRCs, where they trade this product. Sometimes it's just not monetary, but it's a server. Hey, I've got this. You can go hack these guys, but I need something in return, and it's just done through offline chat rooms. And I say offline because, again, it's not publicly accessible like your Snapchat or whatever chat systems, Skype, whatever, that is normally published. And so they can get that data and use it to access your system because it's tied to you.
So walk us through, if you do a scan and it comes back and it's got Joe, it's got my Medcurity password on there, what's my first move and what's my long-term reaction to that? What should we do?
So most people are like, how do I get it out of there? And that's not the concern. Once it's there, it's replicated, getting it out. There are companies that will tell you they can, work to get it out of there. Not the goal, not the end game you want to go after, because the time and resources, if it can even get out of there, is not worth it. So instead what you do is you change your password immediately, of course. And then also a lot of times you'll change your username. We will break up. So a lot of people's logins are their email prefix. So it could be Joe at Medcurity, and he logs in as Joe and his password. So we change that and we make that anonymous. So the login doesn't match those users anymore. And then beyond that, we'll go in and we'll set up what's called multi-factor authentication. That can be as simple as knowing another PIN number you type in along with your password, or a device token. A lot of multi-factor now is really simple. It's integrated with your smartphone. So you go log in somewhere and it sends your smartphone a text with an ID that you type in, or it buzzes an application and you click approve and it lets you in. So it doesn't have to be intrusive or complicated or expensive. But then the password and username itself can't get you in. There's a physical token that has to be, accessed to be able to get in as well.
Gotcha. Let's come back to that. You mentioned that wasn't necessarily a highly expensive. If you're a small clinic, is there something you should or can do to protect your credentials in this way that you're getting into? Or is it just a large organization budget type response?
No, you can get the multi-factor authentication for a few dollars a user per month, so it doesn't add up. So if you are a small organization with a handful of users, that's not that expensive to protect your security. Okay. And there's no reason to wait on that until you are breached, because having multi-factor now helps set the precedent you won't get breached, because they don't have the additional access to get in. They need that before they can get in there.
So probably at a high level, what are the vulnerabilities that allow in the first place someone to get in and take those credentials?
Sure. Well, lack of user training. Oh. So one of the least expensive things you can do to secure your network is training. Okay. Educate your users. UPS does not send PDFs with tracking numbers. There's no attached document when FedEx or UPS or carriers send you a tracking number. It's a link, and you hover over the link and you look at the address that it says it's going to take you to. If it's a FedEx tracking number and it's taking you to some site in Asia because it's all these weird characters and numbers, it's not legitimate. It's probably a virus, a link to download a virus or something like that. And that kind of education, it's not complicated, takes about 2 minutes to display to users, will help eliminate one huge way that viruses are spread. The way they get in, and I'm going roundabout to get to that, is there's some kind of an exploit on one of the physical machines in the environment, typically, that gives them access. So, and it's a combination. So users click on a link or open an attachment and it gets the hackers inside the firewall. Now that awesome security that's put in place to keep people out has been bypassed. They're in, and now they have free reign undetected. Because the worst thing is, you can put all kinds of alarms and sirens and cameras up to detect when someone breaks into your house. But if you give them a key to the front door and they walk in, they're in, right? And at that point, what are you doing on the inside of your network to secure? So education against users opening holes in the firewall unknowingly, and then routine password changes, but keeping virus out. So antivirus, keeping that up to date, not expensive, should be up to date and monitored so you know that it's working. And then making sure that you have that perimeter in place as well to keep people out.
We talk at Medcurity about having a healthy paranoia or a culture of compliance, and within the HIPAA guidelines, you think maybe that annual training, we're checking the box, we're getting it done. But one of the things that we bring up often is that don't lump it all into 1 hour, nope. 2 hour training once a year. These are very real threats that take reminders through the year. Yep. So what kind of communications we put out to refresh and point out these vulnerabilities when something as serious as you've been describing can come down to somebody opening an office document or a PDF in their email. And so training that healthy level of paranoia around the emails is so critical.
One of the things we recommend is that people do, whether they have monthly or quarterly staff meetings, that they always have time for a little bit of security refresher and reminder, because everybody has the policy in place that says you're not supposed to do this. And they have the new hires sign it, and then it goes in their packet, and you don't see it again till you fire them. I don't know. When's the last when you open up an employee's folder and oh, hey, by the way. Yeah. So constant reminders. Sometimes, you can do phishing campaigns where it does it automatically every month, and it sends them a phishing attempt or one of these simulated attacks, and the users that don't fall for it get a $5 gift card to go get coffee or something, and then it becomes something they're looking forward to, and they're actively thinking, am I going to get is this real? Is it not? It engages them. It's not expensive, again, but it helps them understand and be conscious about it all the time.
I like the positive reinforcement there.
Right.
They get a Starbucks card for ignoring it, not a slap for opening it. But
yeah. Well, and then you can obviously go and educate the folks
Train.
that did open it, re-educate and help them understand. But then it becomes something they're looking forward to, because who doesn't want a free cup of coffee somewhere?
Right. I like it. So another area that has been coming up, in fact, maybe you can vet this for me, but I heard a statistic this week that in the first 6 months of 2019, ransomware has occurred 200%. It's up 200% from the first 6 months of last year, and that this has been just an increasingly significant issue that has all kinds of ramifications for a group that has to go through that. So,
right.
So can you talk us through how does that happen? And probably some similarities to the front door,
right?
Giving them the key to the front door, but how does that happen? And before we get in that situation, what should we be looking for?
Well, your 200% number, I think, might be low.
Wow.
So we've been working with the FBI on various cases as people call us to help them with incidents. And the FBI said that only 30% of ransomware attacks this year have been reported. So the statistic folks out there that are gathering this data don't even know half of the ransomware attacks. And they're coming from North Korea for the most part. And they're really going after larger organizations that they believe can hit $1 million+ bounty on their data.
So can I pause you?
Yeah.
Tell us what ransomware looks like. If you've never heard of it, what does that mean?
Absolutely. So ransomware is a virus that infects your data with an encryption algorithm. So encryption is great when you don't want people to see the raw data. It's bad when somebody else has the key to unlock that data. So what they do is they get a hold of your system, they search for data that is valuable, and they know that with algorithms. I mean, your Word documents on shared storage, your databases that are holding your medical records, and then they put an encryption around it, which makes it stop working, and also you can't access that data. And then they say, hey, you want the key to that encryption? Send us a bunch of Bitcoins. Yeah. And we've seen that from $5,000-$6,000 on up to well over $1 million. When people get hit with the ransomware. So they're holding your data ransom. And it's always from a foreign entity. The government's having a very hard time in the United States locking that down, because they're working with foreign governments. And by the time if they are able to reach the attacker, they're gone. And
so do these organizations pay? Should they pay?
So we recommend they don't pay. Okay. And there's a couple variables in that, but what happens is, we talked about the dark web. If you get ransomware, chances are in most cases, it was happenstance. They're sending out campaigns like crazy, like a marketer, to try and get you to click on links to get infected. They don't know who you are unless it was intentional, like they're really going after you. But for the most part, for most users, they don't know who you are. They're just trying to get it out there. But the minute you actually pay, they know who you are, and they'll put you in the dark web as somebody who pays. So now you went from a happenstance to somebody with a big bullseye on their back, and you can put all kinds of security in place, but it's only a matter of time when you have a bullseye on your back before somebody's going to get in. So that leads us to, what do you do if it happens, right? And that is, make sure you've been testing your backups. Right? Your backups, you've got to be able to restore from backups. It's not just about hard drives failing or equipment going offline. It's now because you're going to need to recover from some kind of an attack, directed or indirected. You got your data hacked or encrypted. What are you going to do? You need to go back to those backups. So there's a few kinds of backups. The biggest thing you need to know is that you can't have it be network visible, because if the ransomware can see it, it will encrypt your backups.
So that's scary. So you could be doing everything right, but if it's on the network, they could find that as well, encrypt your backups as well. And then you're toast, even though your procedures seem to be very tight.
Yeah, you had great policies, and you were following everything to the letter. You were testing your backups every 2 weeks to verify that they restore. You went through a monthly or bi-monthly analysis to make sure you were backing up all the data you needed to back up, because people sometimes forget. They add a new data store and they forget to back it up. You could be doing all of that, but if your backups are network visible, the ransomware can see it and attach to it and encrypt those backups. And then you're in big trouble.
So let's take a quick question. We'll pause. Jordan's got her hand up. What do we got?
Got a question from Amanda. She said, once a vulnerability is discovered, such as realizing they clicked on a link with a potential virus, what should be their next steps?
So if there's an alert, even at the user level, that says, hey, I clicked on this, I think it was a mistake, it doesn't look like it actually took me to People Magazine's Most Beautiful People, it went somewhere else. What's the next move if you're there in shop with them or you're the advisor?
So a lot of times it requires a second action to actually getting infected. The first action gets you to the site where you can be infected, and then another action. But not always. So the best thing to do is turn off your machine immediately and then call IT. May just be absolutely fine, but if that virus is running on your machine trying to infect other computers and you shut it down, you just stop that process. If it's trying to run an encryption algorithm and it's scanning your hard drive looking for data to encrypt and you shut it down, it can't do that. IT can bring it up in a safe environment and check and see and clean that threat off and verify and look at what it did and go through the steps that IT does. But basically, if you think you infected your machine or clicked on a link you shouldn't have, shut it down, call for help.
Appreciate it. So if we take that back to that approach of a small clinic that's saying, I'm nervous about this, we're trying to provide patient care, we've got a lot of things to focus on, but this feels like a vulnerability to us. You mentioned keeping antivirus up to date, you mentioned employee training. Where else does a group, maybe the network scanning to see both the dark web and internal? Can you talk about that, and where else does it, anywhere from a mid-sized hospital to a small clinic, what does their investment look like, and what are their priorities around this if they're trying to do the right thing?
Well, we can put in state-of-the-art firewall, the best equipment available, the best security, but all of it can be disabled and circumvented by users. The number one thing you can do is train your users on security. Second is make sure that all of those three main subjects, backup, security, and training, are all being done regularly. Backups are being verified and tested. Your security, which includes your firewall, staying up to date. You didn't just put something in 3 years ago and never touch it again,
sure.
And now it doesn't know about any of the new stuff. You're missing all of that. And then making sure, and then along with security, but antivirus is staying up to date. You're monitoring it. It's on the machines. The user didn't disable it. We've seen horror stories of things being disabled on accident and they get infected. So staying up on that, monitoring it, and then training. You have to stay up on training.
Okay. So tell us about Design IT, where you focus with this company. What are some of the things that you've been working on, and
Sure.
what do you like to do? What does your company like to do?
I like to drink coffee. But
Well, you got to
as a
start
company-
somewhere.
Yeah.
So you start with the coffee.
So we start with
then
the
what?
coffee, and then we get into our day. So we're a managed service provider, and what that means is we take care of IT in conjunction with on-site IT that somebody may have, or 100% take care of all their IT needs at the every level. We have our own data center that's SOC 2 certified, that we host EMRs and other various applications and services on. We're a phone service provider. We do dial tone to the handsets, and then we're a security company. So we go around and assess and help recover, but also secure people ahead of time, do threat analysis and look for dark web issues and monitor real time for folks, and penetration testing, find where they're vulnerable now and hopefully seal that up before somebody else finds their vulnerability.
Well, it's been really fascinating to hear about, again, from the front lines, what you're seeing, how people get in those situations and what they need to do to get out. Hey, Jordan, thanks for making us portable today with this setup.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. It's good to be at your office here, Daniel.
Thanks
So
for
how do
inviting
people
me,
get
Dan.
a hold? How do people get a hold of you? They want to reach out, ask more questions, talk to you about what you do.
Yeah. Well, they can email me. Simplest way to get a hold of me is just to send it to sales@designitsolutions.com.
Great.
Or you can give us a call at our numbers on our website, designitsolutions.com. And it's 509-534-4874.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel, very much
Yeah.
for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll be here next week. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.